Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Warhammer 40k Mercenary Tier 10 Premium Heavy Tank, the Leman Russ. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Leman Russ. This is the second time I'm going to be making this same video, because I did make this video a couple of weeks ago, and it was scheduled to come out next week on Friday. But then they hit us in the face with the Warhammer collaboration, and a lot of the stuff I talked about in that video is still relevant, but at the same time, I didn't have the Rogal Dorn to be a comparison feature, and I talked a lot about the fact that we never knew if it was ever going to come back. And clearly, it's back, so it just didn't make sense to release that video, so here we are re-recording it. Yay! The Leman Russ. In comparison to the Rogal Dorn, the armour on this tank works a lot better, because there's not a lot of obvious weak spots, which means to most people, they do struggle to find the spot to shoot this tank. It is very much like the Rogal Dorn in the fact that it's very, very good against standard rounds, although it's a lot better than the Rogal Dorn against standard rounds, because the Rogal Dorn has stuff like the lower plate and the cupolas that are easy to pen, realistically, with Tier 10 standard and Tier 9 standard. But it's very good against the standard rounds. As soon as premium is spammed its way, though, the premium rounds do start to go through this tank quite awkwardly. The differences between this and the Rogal Dorn is obviously the fact that your armor, like I say, does work better, but you also are a lot quicker. So you can go at 38 kilometers an hour with the build that I've got. It does hit that, and you do turn a lot quicker as well. The gun handling on this cannon is actually not too bad as well. You have 500 alpha with 232 penetration and 304 on its premium. It's the same cannon that the Rogal Dorn gets as a double barrel, but this one technically has, you know, slightly better DPM and better handling as well, which is nice. On the whole, the Leman Russ is a pretty damn solid heavy tank. Is it worth the amount of gold that it's in the store for? It's pretty damn expensive, same as the Rogal Dorn is. I feel like this will be the choice between people who maybe want something that's a bit more reliable with the armour and a bit more mobile, right? In lieu of the damage output of the Rogal Dorn, because the Rogal Dorn has the key strength that is definitely better than the Leman Russ, that the output of the damage that it can do is insane. It can far out-brawl this tank, but this tank will get to situations a lot quicker. It feels a little bit more consistent in the handling of the gun, and like I said, the armour feels a lot more consistent in bouncing shots, whereas the Rogal Dorn goes from the phases of, oh, I feel invincible, to, oh, this person knows what they're doing and penning you every single time, which is pain, right? But the Rogal Dorn, like I say, has the double barrel capacity of this gun, but in double barrel form. And then you get a fantastic 700 alpha gun with that autoloader. So between the two, I think it's a good trade-off. I don't think there's a better version out of the two, if you know what I mean, because they are that little bit different to each other. That just means they've got trade-offs. One's a bit quicker with more sturdy armor. One's got incredible damage output, but is far slower, right? And that damage output is fantastic on the Rogal Dorn. It really, really is. But the Leman Russ is still a pretty damn solid tank. Like I say, it's got that penetration on the gun. It's got pretty good gun handling. It's got that 38 kilometers an hour top speed with the build we've got. It turns pretty quickly. It's got nice view range on it of up to 512 meters with the build we've got. You got 2,500 hit points, which is a nice slab of hit points to dish out the damage with. And it was always one that I did enjoy because it did feel just that consistency. The consistency in the damage. I mean, it's got 3.2k DPM with the build that we have, or nearly 3.3, and it always felt like you were just consistently pumping out 500 damage all the time. The downside to the Leman Russ, for me, was always the penetration. The penetration is a little bit sad, and it's something that the Rogal Dorn has over it again, and that is the fact that you have 232 pen. 232 pen as standard pen on a tier 10 is painful. 304 premium pen is still pretty decent, but then you consider that the Rogal Dorn on its 700 alpha gun has 332 APCR pen. That is so much better again. That means that you can absolutely butcher Type 5s, Mousers, E100s, etc. Whereas 304 penetration on this one doesn't quite butcher them as easily as 332, right? So yeah, the penetration is a massive letdown for the Leman Russ, and that is a pain. And like I say, the other problem for the Leman Russ is premium spam. Because while the armour is damn solid, damn solid against standard, as soon as people do press A and fire that 320, 330, 340 premium penetration that a lot of the tanks at tier 10 get, they will start going through a lot of the flatter spots on your armour. They'll start going through the gun on the front, the sponsons on the side. The sponsons on the side are very, very awkward in the Leman Russ. They do tend to ricochet a good amount of shots because they've got random little... As opposed to that's the thing with the sponsons, right? And that's a difference between... Because they do look visually fairly similar between the Leman Russ and the Rogal Dorn. The difference is in the modelling. So with the Rogal Dorn, the sponsons on the side of the tank are completely flat. They are 250mm of flat armour. That is how they are modelled. Which means that if a shell hits it, it's not going to hit a really weird angle and just ricochet. It's just going to hit flat armour, 250. If it's got enough penetration to go through 250, it will. With the Leman Russ, however, the bolters, I think they're called bolters, right, on the side. I'm not a Warhammer person, I don't know too much. The bolters on the side are modelled just like the guns look, right? So they've got weird little angles that can actually, if your shell hits it at the wrong spot, will just ricochet, or it increases the arm effectiveness, you know, all that good stuff. So there's enough in play that will make the RNG of your attempt to penetrate it, even if you think you might have enough pen to go through it, just bounce. And the amount of times I've shot at these things, gone, I've got like 300 odd pen, and shot the side spons, and it's just gone, ricochet, is crazy. And that's because of the way it's modelled, and it's got weird, awkward angles on it as well, as opposed to the Rogal's really flat sponson. So that is something, again, that goes for the Leman Russ. If you do want to know how to penetrate it in the front, it's... But again, I think it's a bolter. I don't know what the gun is that's on the front, but you can see the gun on the front. You can see it sticking out there. That is 230mm of thickness. So if you're firing a gun that's about 260 plus pen, which is where I start to say premium spam, is where it starts to destroy the armour, it will go through that section where the gun is. And also, the lower plate on this tank is 300mm of thickness, but it's flat. It is flat, so naturally... If you're heading this tank flat on, and you've got 340 heat, 320 pen, 330, like I say, like a lot of tier 10s have, you can go through that lower plate quite easily as well, or mid plate, or whatever it is, because it is perfectly flat and it's only 300mm of thickness. But naturally, then you've got to take into account what you're shooting at as well, because the Leman Russ angles is going to get more awkward for you to penetrate it. You do have the cupola on top of the Leman Russ that you can pen, but again, because this tank is tall, the cupola on top is 150mm of thickness, but it's a tall tank, which means that shooting up at it can be very, very awkward, and a lot of the time, unless you're shooting down into the cupola of the Leman Russ, it will probably end up doing viewport damage, as opposed to, again, the Rogal Dorn, which the cupolas are very accentuated, very stuck out, and they are a lot easier to hit than they are on this tank, which is why I say the armour on this tank does feel a hell of a lot more consistent than the Rogal Dorn, which is a little bit bigger. It is a bit bigger of a tank, and it has the more clear weak spots of that lower plate and those cupolas. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on the old Leman Russ? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Trap Mechanic, Rapid Aim. And then I run in terms of equipment, the Advanced Loader, the Traction System, and Optics. Traction System to make the traction verse better, but also to be able to go at 38 kilometers an hour if I want to downhill. And then the Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better on this tank, to make it so I can try and get it to keep up with the tracks. All 3 gun perks to make sure that this gun is as good as it humanly can be, so that I don't actually have to run the gun stabilizer. And then the optics to be able to spot for myself and get up to that 512 meters of view range, just so that I can have that overkill view range and get what you've seen so far on Prokhorovka, like you've seen here. We've got 3.7k spotting. It is damn helpful for this sort of map, this sort of game. It means you can be really helpful even on this kind of map and get what you want out of it. There's plenty that you could run instead on the Leman Russ. There really is. You could run the gun stabilizer if the gun does annoy you. This first replay is definitely with the gun stabilizer instead of the traction system, but over time I have just switched so that I could go that little bit quicker and turn a little bit quicker, you know, all that good stuff. But yeah, you don't realistically need it. You could swap out the optics for vents and you'll still get 476 meters of view range, which is nice. You could run armor angling instead of rapid aim so that you're reducing the amount of damage coming in, and run it in conjunction with advanced armor instead of the traction system if you wanted to. There's plenty of ways to build your tank. It's down to you and how you feel comfortable playing the vehicle. So that first game that you saw there finished with the victory. The second place on the team, 5 kills, 5,095 damage, 4,875 assistance, so nearly 10k combined. for 1827 base XP. Pretty nice game there for the Leman Russ on Prokhorovka. And now on to the second replay. And the second replay, we are here on this map, which is... it's right in front of your face, you moron. Pearl River. And on Pearl River, what I'm going to do is I am going to go to the 1-2 line, because I can try and get across to K3. And by getting across to K3, I can also get myself hulled down, cut off the people that might cross the 1-2, and get into hull down locations, you know, that cut off enemy pushers and makes it easier for me to use my tank. So this replay, by the way, is a little bit lower in terms of the sound. You might not quite hear the gameplay that much, and that's because there was an annoying bug with the replay where if I shut up for a second, you might faintly hear it, but I have got it turned down, and that is it starts going all the time, and it's really frustrating. So don't adjust your sets. It's me that's turned the sound of it right down because it's bugged, but hey-ho. So yeah, we're going to this 1-2 line. Now, it's a bit dangerous in the Leman Russ, naturally, because, well, we might get shot in the side as we cross to K3, because, we're not the quickest in the universe, going at 38 kilometers an hour, and, yeah, it's a risky play. It just is. It's risky. So we're going across here. This is where it could go badly. As you can see, we're detected. The Marat's got shots at us. We get a shot into the Marat on the move. He shoots us into the side with heat. So we lost 1 shot damage, but we also did 1 shot damage ourselves. But now we're in the hull down position we want to be in, which can be nice for the Leman Russ. We do have 7 degrees of gun depression, so that's where it's kind of handy for this sorts of position. That's a tank that we don't want to be facing, and that is an E4, but we have managed to bounce him, and we put a shot through his side. We do have that 9-second reload with this tank if we use vents, and if we don't use vents and use optics, reload without the food boost is 9.19 seconds, so we do have a pretty good reload at that 3.2k, like I say. We've got 0.29 accuracy with this build as well, which means the gun is fairly decent. The 0.66 accuracy during rotation means that it doesn't bloom out that much at all when we turn the tank and turn the turret. And during movement, it is 2.08 without the gun stabilizer, which is not that great, but honestly, you don't feel it too badly. Once again, I think this replay is actually using the gun stabilizer, but I've been using the Leman Russ without it, and I've not really felt too bad. If you do use the gun stabilizer, you do get the accuracy of the gun down to 1.51 during movement, which is actually really good, and is the reason that you're not seeing the gun, well, the aim circle, sorry, bloom out that much at all. So far we've blocked 4.5k damage. I want to get rid of this Kramvarn, because this Kramvarn has got himself into a dangerous position, and that is crossfire. It's making it awkward because we can't turn to shoot the E4, because the Kramvarn can shoot us in the side of the turret. But we're trying to fire HE at the E4, because, well, I loaded HE to finish off the Kramvarn, and with the E4 staring at us, and the fact that he's not fired yet, it means I can't deal with it. But we got the HE in, the Centauro shuts down the Kramvarn, so we don't have to worry about it, and we switch to the premium rounds, because the E4 turret with 232 penetration, we are never going through that E4's turret. But if we fire 304 pen at his cupola, or the machine gun on top, the likelihood is we might still probably bounce, because it's just stupid, that machine gun port on top of the E4 now, sadly. And even with 304 penetration, it's not likely. But we go for the shot into the side of the E4 there, and thanks, RNG, it hits the floor. But luckily, he also bounced, so we'll take it. We've gone back to standard because, well, we don't need premium to go through the lower plate of an E4. 232 is more than enough. We put him down to 13 HP, and I was hoping my heavy tank could kill him, because I thought, oh no, the E4 is coming after us, but thankfully, he went up and over the ridgeline, which meant he couldn't get the gun depression to shoot me, which is good for us. So we're up to 3.1k damage with 5.3k blocked and 1,300 assistance. There's 7 tanks left on the enemy team, and it's currently 9-7, so the game is still fairly in the balance. And we knew there was tanks behind us, which is why we've come back, and there's the Progetto 65. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a shot at that Progetto 65, and we didn't actually really get any assistance either, because he got deleted by the Ruthless. And we weren't probably spotting it. It was probably the medium tank. If we'd gone further round, we would have been able to get a shot at the Progetto 65, but sadly, us in the Leman Russ there mucked it up and started to go up on the ridgeline. So there's a Ruthless directly in front of us. There's a medium tank as well, which I think is the Murat. They've just deleted the Centauro. We've noticed the light tank in the T100LT is in their base, progressing this way as well. And we just want to close the distance, because I feel like, well, the Ruthless can pen me with AP if he hits the right spot, which will be a little bit awkward. But he can also splash him with Hesh, which, again, is a little bit awkward in of itself because it'll splash of 600-700. But we can quite easily pen the Ruthless, same as we can quite easily pen a Kampfpanzer 50T. I'm not 100% scared of them because it's pure RNG as to whether they're actually going to pen us. So we've come up round the side, we've found the VZ55, and it's like, hello, Mr. VZ55. We get a cheeky shot into his side, looking to see if we could possibly get another one in, because it'd always be nice to knock the HP down of the VZ, because the VZ is very, very good. And instead of going for the Ruthless and the Kampfpanzer, I feel like they're going to be locked down by my medium and heavy. So instead, I want to get rid of the VZ. We go for the shot into the lower plate. Thank you, RNG. Straight underneath the VZ, because why not? He gets one shot into his RBRT, and his second shot thankfully bounces. We put shot into his side now, and if we'd hit that first shot into his lower plate, he'd be a one-shot right now. But RNG said no. But he's reloading, and we know we've got the DPM. There's a likelihood here, and the whole likelihood as well, that he's not going to reload in time before we kill him. This is the last shot we're going to get before he is loaded, and we managed to shut down the VZ55. We managed to angle up enough that that guy couldn't pen us with his second shot, which means we've still got some hit points to play with. And we just got unlucky, really, because we should have killed him a little bit earlier than we did, but that shot on his lower plate just went, you know what? I could hit the lower plate, or I could hit the floor. It's like, thank you, RNG. I love you so much. So the Ruthless is gone, so I'm not worried, because this Kampfpanzer 50T, well, I'm just not worried about the Kampfpanzer 50T. If he fires heat, he could go through, but I'm not 100% worried. There's the Murat. He's firing heat, though, and I am worried about, because he's firing heat, which went straight through that mid plate, because the Murat has very good heat rounds. But he's just fired all of his shells now, which means I know he's reloading. So if I can get rid of this guy, that'd be great. We hit him for 431. Just waiting on the reload. The Conqueror shuts down the Kampfpanzer 50T. The Murat's the last one left. He's just getting round away from our gun with RBRT, and Thankfully, we got very lucky there that actually hit the Murat, and we finished him off, because that was lazy, but we got lucky. Finished with the victory, 3 kills, 6.5k damage, 1390 assistance, 7.2k block nearly, the ace tank of the high caliber, steel wall, 1626 base XP. A pretty good game there for the Leman Russ. Again, just showing off the strengths of the tank, and even against some of the high pen guns like the E4, they're not always guaranteed to go through, because angles. It's got a lot of angles. You put it in the right situations, it will bounce you a hell of a lot of damage, which is why I say that this has a lot better armor than the Rogal Dorn on average. And it's a bit more consistent in pointing out the damage with its main cannon, but the pure damage potential of the Rogal Dorn is a lot better. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.